Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today's video is all about creating a Firebase phone auth. But since this topic is quite lengthy, I've decided to split it into two parts. In this first part, we'll be creating just the Phone Auth UI. And in our next video, we'll be setting up our Firebase project, integrate it into our Flutter app, and build the authentication logic of the Phone Auth UI that we're gonna building today. This is the phone auth that we're gonna building. As you can see, we can enter our phone number here. We also have this country picker where we can select our desired country. Plus there is an error validator that displays an error when the phone number is not in the correct format. So let's complete the phone number. And once we submit, we'll see this OTP form where we can enter the SMS code that was sent to our phone number. We also have a resend button with a timer that is handy for sending the OTP code in case the user hasn't received it. And once we enter the correct SMS code, we get redirected to the home screen, just like this. So this is what we are gonna creating, guys. So without further ado, let's get started. So we have here the default counter of a fresh Flutter project. And the first thing we need to do is to create the sign-in screen. But before we do that, let's do a bit of refactoring. I'm going to separate this my app into another file to make our code modular. I'll also be creating the folder structures and the constants that we're gonna be using, like the breakpoints, sizes, app colors, styles, and the common widgets like primary button and uploader. So I'm gonna speed this up so you don't have to watch me typing at a snail's pace. So there we go. We're done with all of our preparations and we can now be able to start with our sign-in screen. So let me go ahead and do that. Let's create this sign-in number input field in another file. Now let's try to change this My Home page with the sign-in screen that we have just created. Let's refresh it and there we go. So let's now go ahead and style our text form field. So we're done with our text form field. So the next thing we need to do is to create the country code picker here. But I have created a separate video for that. So if you're interested to know how I create that, I will link the video down on the description below so you can check it out. So after creating our country code picker, the next thing we need to do is to create our verify phone number button here. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, we're done with our verify phone number button. And the next thing we're gonna create is the OTP code form field. And to save time, we're gonna be using the pinput package. So let's go ahead and search for that. So this is the pinput that we're gonna be using. So there, as you can see, using this is pretty straightforward. We can just simply copy this. So in order for us to use this, let's go ahead and install it. So after installing, let's simply gonna copy this. Okay, we now have this pinput field. But the problem is it's hard to see because the color contrast is not that strong. So let's go ahead and adjust the color. There you go. As you can see, it's working perfectly fine. But this is not the design that we want. What we want here is to only display this pinput field when the phone number is submitted and the SMS code has been successfully sent. So in order to achieve this, we need to create an enum, which we can name it sign-in form type. And what we want to do is to default our sign-in form to phone number form type and update it to OTP form type when the SMS code is successfully sent. So that's what we're gonna do. So let's also gonna create the functions that return this button text and this header text based on the form type. Let's now create the provider for this enum and let's default it to sign-in form type phone number. Let's give it the default of sign-in form type phone number. There you go. And then let's watch our enum provider here and create our logic. So there you go. So the next thing we need to do next is to create our form validator here. But I also created that as a separate video. So if you want to know how to create a validator without the need to create a lot of messy logics here inside your text form field, then definitely you do need to check that out. So the link is down on the description below. So after creating this error validator, we now need to define the onPress function for our button. This way, once we submit our phone number, the OTP form will appear, enabling us to enter the SMS code. So the next thing we're gonna do is to create our basic home screen so that once we have entered the correct SMS code, we'll get redirected to the home screen. Yes, then. So what I am doing here is to temporarily navigate the user to the home screen using Navigator 1.0 after entering the SMS code. However, please note that this is merely for demonstration purposes to show how this UI operates. If you're developing a real-world app, you should be listening to the auth state changes and only redirect the user once they are authenticated and have met all your requirements. That's what we're gonna be covering in our future videos. But for the time being, let's keep it simple. So, let's go ahead and continue. So there we go. Let's try this out. Let's enter a dummy code here. There we go. We got redirected to the home screen as expected. So the next thing we need to do here is to create the SMS resend button. This is important because if we haven't received the code within the validity period, then we need to have the option to resend the code. Otherwise, the user could get stuck, which would not be a good user experience. So let's go ahead and create that. Let me just convert this to a hook widget because we'll be using a timer here. I usually use Flutter hooks in cases like this because they simplify the use of init and dispose methods, thereby helping to reduce boilerplate. This in turn makes your code base simpler, easier to manage, and easier to understand. So there you have it. We now have this plain and simple button. However, this counter here is hard-coded. Our goal here is to display a counter that starts from 120 seconds. This duration depends on the validity of the SMS code you set, but for me, I usually limit it to 120 seconds. Once this timer hits 0, we want to stop the timer and activate this button, allowing us to resend the code. What we also want to do here is to deactivate this button while the timer is running to prevent users from resending a code while the current one is still valid. So let's go ahead and create that timer. There you go. If it's greater than 0, then null, else resend code. So there we go. Let's try to restart this to see if our resend button is working as expected. Let's enter a dummy code here. Then perfect. It's now working. So I'll try to fast forward this to see if this gets activated when it reaches 0. Okay. Let's see. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You got it! So that's it, guys. If you learned something from this video, then please give me a thumbs up, share it to your friends, and subscribe for more videos like this.